probably the one he gets on CNBC all the time. So we have a looming recession coming. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but sometime it's going to happen. How do you think Bitcoin's going to deal with that?
Well, look, the short answer is we don't know, right? Nobody knows. Bitcoin has thrived during one of the longest bull markets in history. I tend to believe that it will do pretty well when central banks continue to cut interest rates and print money with quantitative easing, but we don't know, right? And so it's something that we're paying very, very close attention to. But if you look at it from a kind of historical perspective, I think something like this with the non-correlation and the asymmetric upside, I think that people will be quite intrigued to see how it performs then.
Asymmetric upside, that's always the go-to.
Asymmetric upside is always important when you make investments because every investment can go to zero for the most part, and so you're looking for kind of the power law to take over, right? And so it's something that I'm attracted to. And then when you add in the non-correlation, right? If you have a portfolio that's 100% either fiat currency or assets denominated in fiat currency, the ability to get into assets that are non-correlated is really important because it can actually lower the risk of the overall portfolio.
Looming recession coming. The only big question is how big is it going to be and when, but it's coming. Speculation-wise, what do you see Bitcoin doing at the next recession?
You know what? I got no idea, man. Fuck knows. All I know is this is going to be a big, scary, possibly nasty global recession. It might start in Europe first, where I am, because European central banks look like they're fucked. But nobody knows. So, is it a safe haven? Is it not? Will people move into Bitcoin as a safe haven? Will they exit Bitcoin because they want cash? I don't think anyone knows. Personally, I kind of don't care. I don't want to, I don't care in terms of price. I want adoption because people want to use Bitcoin. I don't want adoption for the price to go up. One of the most important things for me was getting away from price. Stop checking the price, stop giving a shit about the price. Focus on adoption, focus on use. I honestly don't know. I think you can argue either way that it will be a safe haven or people will exit. Who knows, man?
What do you see, just speculation, what do you see Bitcoin doing when the recession hits?
Personally, I don't see Bitcoin going higher than $15,000.
Ever.
There's another, I'm not saying that, but not in the near future. There are other currencies in play that aren't being traded at a proper ratio to Bitcoin.
Like what?
And until they're traded at the proper ratio to Bitcoin, instability will rain down in the marketplace.
What kind of currencies? What do you mean?
Okay, there are 21 million Bitcoins. There are 84 million Litecoins.
Right.
There are 4 times as many. Okay, the idea behind both currencies is identical. Okay, that said, for every $4 of Bitcoin price that there should be $1 of Litecoin price. And it doesn't add up.
So you're saying Litecoin is undervalued?
Or Bitcoin is overvalued until the ratio.
Well, I guess one of the biggest differences, I'd love your take, one of the biggest differences is the Litecoin has the Litecoin Foundation. And I feel without that Litecoin Foundation, without Charlie Lee, it would be very hard. Litecoin has a way more uphill battle than Bitcoin, who has that first mover advantage, who has no single point of failure. But to me, that makes it a little undervalued, Bitcoin.
Okay, but that brings us back to the dollar and other fiat currencies. You kind of still within the space of cryptocurrencies, you still have to come into some sort of stability about these coins, which currently doesn't exist until they all start to become more and more and more distributed.
If you had to pick one altcoin that you really like, what would it be? Would it be Litecoin?
In the current configurations of the market as I see it, yes.
This looming recession that's coming up upon us, do you think Bitcoin's going to fare well if and when a recession hits?
It's a great question. We don't really know, right? And anyone that tells you that with certainty that X or Y is going to happen, they don't understand complex systems. Over the long term, I believe Bitcoin will do well. And that's because of increasing demand and a fixed supply. Just laws of economics work out that way. Short term, there can be significant volatility, including if there is a recession, it's possible a lot of people pull it out. And they go to something like treasuries or something as a safe haven. We don't really know, and this is because we don't know what the mentality of the holders are and what each individual is going through, what sort of financial pressure that they're going to come under. And that's really hard to know. And who knows what government regulations or laws might be passed in conjunction with something like a recession. So short answer is we don't really know.
Right.
I wish we did. But yeah, it's a complex system, so lots of different things can happen. You know, people that are very bullish on Bitcoin can suddenly become bearish and vice versa. So, yeah.
Just speculation, because nobody knows, but with a looming recession coming up, what do you see Bitcoin doing in the next recession?
Okay, this is not investment advice, I have to say, but it could really go one of two ways, and honestly, I don't know. So the last recession, people just poured money into gold because they didn't trust equities and they didn't know what to do with their money. A lot of people say that Bitcoin is digital gold, so Bitcoin could be a very good place to pour your money if you're removing it out of equities and traditional investments. But at the same time, we've also found that when the stock market dips, sometimes also the Bitcoin market dips because people just get freaked out and they pull out their money and hold it in cash. So it could kind of go one of two ways. It could shoot up in price. It could shoot down in price. I think we don't know. We certainly hope that it would go up in price and be a really safe and secure place to hold your money while you're sitting out the crisis, but it could go one of two ways.
Time will tell. And actually, one more question. Speculation. What do you see Bitcoin's place being in when this recession happens? What do you think will happen?
That's a tough question. I think a lot of, the standard idea is like it's a safe haven in a recession. And then people look at recessions, what happens with gold? Do people start buying gold? You do see some of that, but in a lot of times I think, for the average person in a recession, they don't have any money. So it's not like, oh, cool, I'll take all the money that I don't have and put it into gold or put it into Bitcoin. If you're rich, you may sort of be like, hey, I'm going to buy some gold. I'm going to spread my wealth around a little bit more, take it out of just the stock market, for example. But I think for a lot of average people, they're not going to have a lot of money to move into safer places. But I do see in that, so even if I don't necessarily see Bitcoin going through the moon when that happens, I do see Bitcoin staying stable when it happens. I don't see Bitcoin disappearing. There's probably some arguments you can make that some people, could get a little bit afraid and take their money out of Bitcoin and be like, well, I don't know what to do. But I actually think that the thing about Bitcoin is when people do that, other people are like, oh, cheap Bitcoin. And so they buy it and the price comes back. And since people are also spending electricity to mine Bitcoin and create Bitcoin, there's sort of a floor that Bitcoin doesn't really want to fall below. Right. So I think in that sense, it's a stabilizing factor. Your dollar, in some of these countries, could 1,000,000% inflation in a month. I don't think you're going to find that happen with Bitcoin. So whether or not people use it as a safe haven, I think it will be a safe haven.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Just speculation, but what do you project might happen with Bitcoin when that impending recession hits?
That's a great question. So it depends on if Bitcoin is perceived as the risk-on or risk-off trade, or that's also known as the safe haven asset. If Bitcoin is a safe haven asset, then Bitcoin should move inversely to market negative conditions. So if the markets dip, Bitcoin should go up. As it reflects investors' concerns over the economy, people will pour their money into Bitcoin as a safe haven, safe place to store their wealth. If Bitcoin is still perceived as risk-on or a risky asset, which it is right now, then it might move down with a mainstream market or a macro movement downwards. So I think Bitcoin, though, the meme or the story that it is the risk-off trade or the safe haven asset, though, has been continuing to build, where we've seen Investco and Barclays call it Gold 2.0 in a very serious fashion. So I think we're starting to see that narrative change. It just depends on how much that narrative changes right before that event where people start to lose faith in the mainstream financial markets.
Truth. Great perspective.
All right, man.
2 more questions.
Do it.